Hey guys, happy Monday. Just watched the last episode of season 2 of Dr. Quinn. So it's season 2, episode 27, Return Engagement, part 2. If you remember, the last episode ended with Dr. Mike finally connected the dots that Andrew Strauss was actually her fiance David, who she thought had died in the war. So it kind of picks up right where it ends from the previous episode. She's, saying that she's finally figured out that you're David, and he denies it like no other. He's like, I know you probably think I'm someone else, that I look like them, and he's just totally denying it. And Sully kind of followed them and is overhearing what they're saying. And she finally says, well, you're right. Because if the David I know would not lie to me. And then that kind of triggers him into giving up that he is David. And he said, oh, Michaela, I'm so sorry. I never intended for this to happen. They kind of sit down at the saloon together outside. Yeah. Was hurt pretty badly in Bull Run and had been pronounced dead. A farmer found him and nursed him back to health, but he was eventually captured and taken to Andersonville, which, if you know from learning your history in school, Andersonville was one of the worst places for the war back then. He somehow made it out of there. One of his teammates died in his arms. His name was Andrew Strauss, and that's how he picked up his new name. And basically he had been in Pueblo and had heard of a woman doctor in Colorado Springs named Quinn, so he took a chance to come out and look. So she hugs him. She's so happy that he's alive. I mean, who wouldn't be if you were engaged to someone and then you thought they died? And 7 years later, here they come. It's crazy. It's cold. Anyways, along that time, she hugs him, and along that time, here comes the wagon with Horace and Myra and Sully, and the whole town's coming around, and Sully's pissed. You can see the look on his face. They are, driving Horace and Myra back home to the telegraph office, and there's a shivaree that the town has. I never knew about this, or that this was a thing. If it was, I haven't even looked it up. Back then, where they played a prank on the newly married couple, where they did pots and pans against the window, so it would interrupt their mood on the first night that they're due to have sex. So Matthew and Colleen are on a stay for the shivaree, and Brian's like, what's a shivaree? And they kind of laugh. And she's like, no, I think we all need to go home. Matthew's like, well, I'm staying. And she's like, no, Matthew, I really want you to come home. And Sully helps her get up in the wagon, and you can tell he knows. And it's just a whole thing. So Sully drops them off. He kind of waits outside while the children get in and settled, and Dr. Mike comes out, and she's like, Sully, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I know. And she's like, and she's like, I heard you all outside of the saloon. And she said that she had no idea. She couldn't believe it. She had no happening in this. And he said he understood, but he said that he asked her to marry him. And she said she just kind of needed time to figure things out. Like, who wouldn't? I mean, it sucks, right? Because we're all rooting for Dr. Mike and Sully. We have no idea who this David is. I mean, we know of him, but we don't know him. So he just kind of, goes off at that point. So the next morning, Dr. Mike tells the children, and they're just so confused. So like, this Andrew Strauss is David, your fiance? And she's like, yeah. And Matthew's like, if you need your ring back, I'll give it to you. And she's like, no, I gave that to you and Ingrid. It's yours. And so Colleen was like, are you still engaged with David? Like, if he hadn't died or said he died, would you have married him? And she's like, yeah, I would have guessed so. And she said, so you're engaged to 2 men? And it was just hilarious the way she said it. And then they go into town. I'm guessing they told the town, because I don't know how else they would have found out, and I don't know why they told the town, but the town's gossiping. So they're like, oh, Michaela's engaged to 2 men, Dr. Mike's engaged to 2 men. Jake calls her a bigamist, and the Reverend's like, no, that's only if you're married to 2 women or 2 men. And Lauren is kind of like, well, David has claim on Dr. Mike because he was engaged to her first. And of course, Lauren's not probably hipped on the idea of Sully and Dr. Mike being married because, Sully was married to his daughter. And they're all just gossiping about it. And Grace is like, it's been 7 years. I'd say it's expired. And she's like, but, Dr. Mike loves Sully. And Matthew finally is just like, let them be. Let them figure it out. They don't need us in their business. Let them be. And kind of walks off with Colleen and Brian. Gosh, so crazy. And so Jake, Lauren, and the Reverend visit Horace at the telegraph office and says, they're like, how was your night? Even though they probably knew. And he's like, you all should know, all that racket, we couldn't sleep. We couldn't, we had just gotten in the mood and you all ruined it. And, Jake and Lauren laugh. And he's like, have you all ever lost the mood? And Jake was like, no, never. And Lauren said, I never did. But they did. Every man does. And that's what the Reverend tells Horace when it's just the 2 of them. He's like, every man loses their mood every once in a while, whether they like to admit it or not. But he basically tells Horace, if you feel the mood, then act. So we'll see how that goes. So it's dinner time again. Andrew or David is at the homestead with Dr. Mike and the children eating dinner. David kind of asks Brian what he likes to do, and Brian says, I don't know. And Dr. Mike was like, well, he likes to go fishing. And David's like, do you use worms? And Brian was like, when I can find them. And he says, did you know that every piece of the earth has gone through a worm's stomach, which I did not know. Don't know that I needed to know that, but Colleen's like, never thought about it before. Sounds boring, The kids are not on the David bandwagon. Then someone knocks at the door. It's Sully. He kind of feels like he sees David there, and he kind of feels like she's intruding. And he said, sorry, didn't mean to intrude. And Dr. Mike's like, no, sit down, stay for dinner. Then Brian says, you gotta move, you're in Sully's seat, which I love. I love his one-liners. Sometimes they're the best. And Dr. Mike is like, Brian, that's rude. And And David's like, oh yeah, of course, I'll move. And Sully like literally sits him down and says, no bother, I'm not staying. And she's like, Sully, I wish you would. And, David's like, yeah, Michaela wants you to stay. The children want you to stay. And he's like, they can speak for themselves. And she's like, Sully, please stay. So much going on. She doesn't know how to process this in her brain. And he gets up, and then him and David and Sully kind of get into a tiff, and Matthew gets in the middle and separates them and says enough, and kind of pushes David a little bit more than he does Sully. And David's like, I hate that I caused you pain, Michaela, and knowing that I have, I'll leave immediately tomorrow morning if you say you have no feelings for me. So Dr. Mike just takes a minute, and then she said, please don't leave. Oh, our Sully lovers. Then Sully was like, Dr. Mike says, Sully, I'm sorry, it's just a lot to process at once, and I need time. And he said, for what? And he said, the engagement is off. And she's like, I didn't say that. And he said, you just did, just now. And he leaves and slams the door, and very dramatic scene, but it's pretty good. And then the next day, there's some kind of school thing going on where they were singing. Dr. Mike's there sitting on a picnic blanket along with the other parents, and Sully comes along. I guess maybe he had promised Brian and Colleen that he would come, because as soon as he sits down, Brian waves and sees him, and Sully waves back, and he kind of apologized how he acted, and he said that she needs to let go of her past. Like, she told him that he had to let go of his past, Abigail. And Dr. Mike was like, well, it's different because David is alive. He's like, yes, he is alive, but he's not the same man you knew. 7 years, he's been through the war, he's been through a lot of things. He's not the man you once knew. That man is dead. So she kind of takes that nugget. He also says, if it weren't for you, I'd be moving on by now. So it sounds like if she chooses David, he's not sticking around. He has no reason to. With Claudia and Jean moving on, he feels like maybe it's time for him to move on. And yeah, that's kind of sad if Sully would leave, right? So what next, fiasco? Oh yeah, so Horace and Myra, she brings him some cooked goods during the day. I think it was lunch, and he kind of got in the mood, so he closed up the telegraph office real quick and gets her in their bedroom and starts unbuttoning her shirt. She's like, Horace, what are you doing? And I was told if I'm in the mood, act. And she's like, it's not even dark yet. And she's like, I've never done it like this before. And he's like, oh, if you don't want to, we can wait till tonight. And she's like, no, that's not it. I just never have slept with someone that I love before. And so really it was kind of the first time for both of them. I'm sure Myra had done the act, but it was really more of a business kind of thing. So there's that. And so yeah, they do kind of get comfy a little bit, and then there's this loud noise. So this I guess glass of maybe preserves had exploded into Grace's face, so she had a piece of glass in her eye. And like the whole town comes running and helps her. Sully gets her into the clinic with Robert E. Dr. Mike takes a look with her magnifying glass, and she can see that the glass is in very deep. Like, if she did too much with it, like, she could damage Grace's vision permanently. She asks Robert E. to go get David, and Sully kind of looks taken aback. She's like, I need his help. because David was once a doctor, and he's not anymore since the war. Anyhow, after that, David comes in. He's like, I haven't touched a scalpel in 7 years. But she says, have never worked on eyes. If I do anything too much, she'll lose her vision. And he agrees to help, and they got it out, and she, without impairing her vision. And so Sally talks to David one-on-one after that, and says that, he's been trying to think about what he would have done if he was in Andrew's shoes when he came into town, and how it must be hard. And David was like, yes, I totally get it. And he tells them that, I tried to forget about Michaela for years and put distance between us. And he tells him how he heard about a woman doctor named Quinn along the way, and he just had to come see if it was her. He wanted to see if she was happy, and he didn't want to ruin anything. He really didn't. Like, when I first watched this with my sister, we hated David. We saw him as someone that could ruin Dr. Mike and Sully's relationship just when they were on the right track. They'd gone through so many bumps, so many issues, so many things, and they were finally engaged. And now here comes her ex-fiance, who she thought died in the war. So that night, Sully goes to see Dr. Mike again. And he says, I love you, I want to marry you, but I want to be with you for the rest of my life, but I want you to be happy more than anything. Sully is literally pulling out all the stops. 1, he thinks she needs to decide what's best for her. 2, he wants her to be happy among anything else. No matter what choice she makes, he says that he will be there by her side. That's kind of hard, right? The next morning, he's helping Brian learn how to ride that bicycle that they got him in the previous episode. And Dr. Mike had just come from the woods with David, where they ended up kissing. And, Sally's like, well, I better get going. I'll see you later. And Brian's like, you're not staying for dinner? And Sally says, no, not tonight. And he just kind of is cordial to Dr. Mike and kind of leaves. Then Dr. Mike is making dinner, and Colleen says, well, how many should I put for tonight's plates? She said, just the 4 of us. And Matthew's like, oh, David isn't coming to dinner. She's like, no, not tonight, or just be us. And she's like, I know you all are partial to Sully and you love him, and I just hope that you give David a chance as well. And Colleen was like, yeah, we will try. Sully told us the same thing. And she's like, he did? And she's like, yeah, he said that you have to think about what's going to be best for you. One day the 3 of us are going to grow up and possibly move, and you have to do what you think is going to make you the most happy one day. Not just the next few years, but your whole life. And it just showed his warm heart. Like the other stuff he said to Dr. Mike, you can always use that as a ploy to keep someone, but him telling that to the children, he had no idea that the children were going to tell Dr. Mike that. So it just shows his selflessness and how much he does love her and want her to be happy. The next day, she goes with David in the woods again, and he says, his piece was published in the Chronicles, and he has to go to Washington for some things. And he said, I want to come back to you here and start a life with you. And she looks kind of hesitant. And he says, do you love Sully? And she said, yes. And he said, do you love him more than me? And she's like, do you really want me to say? And me and my sister were just like, yeah, she loves Sully more than him. Yes. But, he's kind of heartbroken, which he seems like a nice guy, but I don't think that Dr. Mike would gel. Like, he does make her mind move a lot. Like, she can talk medical talk jargon with him. She told this to Dorothy when Dorothy was sitting at Grace's cafe with her. But Sully has something stirred inside of her, and they have history together. Like, he saved her life on multiple occasions, saved all 3 of the kids on multiple occasions. It's just, he is Sully, and you can't beat that. I'm sorry. So she goes off to find Sully, and you see Wolf by the lean-to that he sleeps in, and he's out splitting wood. And I'm not gonna say it yet. Okay. Anyway, he's out there splitting wood, and Dr. Mike comes up, and she starts talking, and he's kind of like, you love David. And she's like, yes, I will always love him. He's was a great part of my life, and I think I'll always love him. But I wish I could remember the exact wordings that went back and forth between the two. And he's like, I know you chose him. I know. And she's like, I didn't. I chose you. I see, she saw a future with the 2 of them together. She's like, will you still take me? She's like, will you still want me? And he's like, and she says, will you? And he's over there cutting wood. But he's like, will I what? And she's like, will you marry me? And he goes over to her and says yes, and they kiss, and they just kind of run around in the field, and he picks her up, and they hug and kiss, and oh my god, it's just so beautiful. I loved these past 2 episodes, and just their love is beautiful. So this is the end of the 2nd season. We made it through. Coming up is season 3, kind of going through their engagement, preparing for a wedding. Are they going to stay in the homestead that they already have, or are they is Sully going to build them a new homestead like he said previously? And what all that entails. So we will see what happens as their engagement kind of period of time starts up. So all right, I'm so excited. We got through season 2. Excited for the seasons to come. I love Dr. Mike and Sully so much together. The children, everything. I just love it. Can't wait to bring you more episodes, and I hope everyone has a great start to their week. Bye, guys.